Hello and welcome to Daily Politics on Trust TV. I am Shafiu Suleiman. Despite heavy knocks from opposition and critics of the performance of the present administration, the federal government says the President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration is leaving behind a solid legacy of revamped security, social investment, self-sufficiency in staples and property, among others. Minister of Information and Culture Lai Mohammed noted this at the resumption of the PNB administration scorecard series 2015 to 2023, where he stated as false opinions of critics who claimed that Buhari government achieved nothing, and those that admit it was only in the area of infrastructure the government had performed.
The 16th edition of the President Muhammadu Buhari scorecard series opened with the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, saying, beyond infrastructure, the President is leaving behind unprecedented legacies of development that have enhanced the quality of lives of beneficiaries.
Our pace-setting social investment programs like Empower, school feeding, conditional cash transfer, and GEP, that's Government Enterprise Empowerment Program, have benefited millions of our citizens, both young and old, and this can neither be trivialized nor denied. The Buhari administration is leaving a legacy of putting Nigeria on the path of self-sufficiency in many staples, including rice.
Mohammed added that the current administration has ensured inclusiveness, especially in the areas of infrastructure and social development.
There is no state in Nigeria today that is not witnessing at least a road or a bridge or a housing project, not one. The Honorable Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning has also told us here how Mr. President approved tranches upon tranches of funding to states, irrespective of their party affiliation, to enable them meet their obligations to the people. What of the legacy of the second Niger Bridge? Building that bridge almost 60 years after the commissioning of the Niger Bridge.
In the fight against corruption, he says the administration has exposed and put on trial those found culpable, as well as enacted laws that have strengthened the war against graft.
The EFCC, the ICPC, and other anti-corruption agencies have gone beyond merely arresting and prosecuting alleged corrupt officials to institutionalizing the fight against corruption through various programs. The Buhari administration is leaving a legacy of enacting landmark laws, including the harmonized mental health bill and discrimination against persons with disability prohibition bill, both of which have been signed into law by Mr. President.
The minister says although naysayers will always want to amplify the negatives of the present government and try to twist the records to suit their narrative, the PNB legacy of unprecedented development across all sectors in the past 7 years cannot be written off.
Also, Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, the new Nigeria People's Party presidential candidate, revealed the group's presidential campaign council, RMK PCC. Speaking to party supporters on Monday in Abuja, Kwankwaso said that the NNPP is working non-stop to launch a campaign for a new Nigeria that will launch on May 29, 2023. Take a look at this report. Barely 6 weeks to presidential election in Nigeria. The candidate of the NNPP is racing against time to set up the necessary machinery that will drive his campaign across 774 local government areas in the 36 states of the Federation in what promises to be a highly competitive race to the presidency.
Our political movement, both the TNM, Konkosia, and the NNPP levels, is driven by committed and dedicated volunteers who invest their resources, time, and energy bearing in mind that Nigeria's economy is in tatters and income levels are shrinking and the purchasing power is weakening by the hour.
The New Nigeria People's Party is also not losing sight to the fact that it has to raise the necessary funds that would help in prosecuting the presidential campaign in view of scarce resources at its disposal.
We made it a duty that the few convoy that we have, we visit the people. By that, we were able to assess and see the ecstasy of young men and women who show interest, who show love for this great party.
We don't play money politics, but we need a whole lot of money for logistics and to ensure that we succeed fully by the help of God.
That this is time for us to lead, for you to lead Nigeria, because the course is clear and our victory is certain, inshallah.
A 1,053-member campaign council comprising of 6 components, chaired by the presidential candidate Rabiu Kwankwaso, is expected to take the challenging task of mobilizing Nigerians to vote for the party as it kicks off zonal rallies on the 12th of this month. The party says its message is a new and better Nigeria is possible. We're now joined in the studio by Dr. Farouk Bibi Farouk, a member of the NNPP, who will be giving us insights on the inauguration of the campaign council, among others. He's also the director, planning, research and strategy of the NNPP Presidential Campaign Council. Thank you for joining us, Farouk Bibi Farouk.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Right, okay. Some say it is better late than never. Few weeks to the presidential election, precisely on the 25th of February, that is next month. Your party, the NNPP, a relatively new political party in the scene, is coming up with this presidential campaign council. What magic do you think this council can do in 6 weeks, to be precise?
Thank you very much. If you are familiar with proper politics, trench politics, underdog politics, you would see that the strategy is perfect. This is the time for the PCC to now go full blast into national activities. For the since March last year, when the NNPP came into limelight, it had been in existence, but the TNM, that's the national movement, and the Kwankwaso movement and other smaller movements got together and went into the NNPP to start a political party. Less than a year now. Yeah. We have fulfilled all righteousness. We have done better than parties that have been in existence for 24 years in many areas. Now, why the PCC did not come 2 months, 3 months ago is because the policy has been to continue a road campaign. We are the only party that is on the road. The other parties are on air with helicopters and drop shoots and private jets and so on, touching and dancing on platforms and living without committing to anything. That's what we have been seeing. But our party has been going to the lowest of the low grassroots for the last 3 months. And so far we have visited more than 300 local governments by road. So now we are preparing to start the zonal campaigns. And to get into the zonal campaigns, the PCC would now be much more useful. What we have relied on has been the community campaign groups, which are will be the offshoot of our community orientation and participation committees, which is in our manifesto, in our blueprint, which is a committee that we intend to set up in every ward of the country and involve people both in our party and outside the party who would be able to remove this alienation of the people from governance. Because we realize that a lot of Nigerians are alienated from governance, both from traditional governance and from modern governance. Something happened in our history that nobody has looked at that has created that alienation. So everything you ask people to do as civic responsibility, they just do it for the sake of it, but they don't have a commitment and ownership of the country.
Right. Talking about commitment and ownership, you talked about the local governments you traverse across the country. You had your presidential candidate talking about 400 of them, which you've been literally there physically, to speak to the people. Even though the campaign pattern used to have changed, perhaps this time around, we've seen the major political parties adopting what they call engagements with strategic groups and so on. But yours differs, perhaps for obvious reasons. Now, you talk about the party being, relatively unknown, somehow grassrooted, and then at the same time, your presidential candidate is also known to be a formidable force within a particular region. And now we're having a national outing. How much, of acceptance would the NNPP say it has, going through this engagements? Because some will say Nigerians are just familiar with two major political parties, perhaps because they've been the dominant political parties, they've been the ones with the deep pocket and so on and so forth. What was the engagement like with the people?
The bulk of the people are frustrated, not happy with what happened in the 16 years of PDP, and more dejected with what is happening with the 7.5 to 8 years of the APC. That is clear. It's a grand Nigerian realization. That is what is creating this agitation from the people. Maybe you do not see a lot of it in the north because the northerners are a bit more cool-headed when it comes to these things. They are a bit more strategic when it comes to these things. They do not scream about it. They mobilize and wait for the right time to react about it. But there is, the misery index is very high. People have gone into poverty of unexpected levels. You have seen it. 133 million Nigerians are in multidimensional poverty, So, and they know that that is a result of political failure of governance. Many of them know that. So the assumption that the people will just get more involved with two political parties that are just 20 years in the history of Nigeria is bunkum. Is not. I don't think it holds water, actually, because if you look at history itself, the history of politics itself, it's not in every political polity that people just get stuck with two identities and refuse to change. Yes, you can see it in UK, you can see it in the US, but these are relatively young parties. Even the PDP and the APC are relatively young, and their failure level is relatively very high. So, and I think Nigerians are coming to terms with the fact that they need alternatives to this, what you call major political parties. But of course,
are you really presenting alternative? Because some will say, looking at your presidential candidate, for instance, has been part of the trajectory across the political party lines. Exactly. He was with the PDP, he was with the APC, and now ANPP.
Exactly.
Some even say perhaps the desperation, if you like, or the ambition, the tenacious ambition to become president was what led him out of the PDP, for instance. Now, what is he bringing new on board?
What he has always had when he was in PDP, when he was in APC, is an ideology. And that is what he pushed. For all of the time in PDP, the national leadership of PDP was trying to destroy the Konkosia ideology. They have written letters many times that the party, the ideology should merge into the mainstream. And there is no mainstream, because the PDP was formed just to drive the military out. It never had any major ideology. So when the opportunity came, after the grand failure of the PDP and the realization that it is not going to mobilize around anything developmental, the Konkosia movement, together with our principal, moved into the APC, hoping that starting a new party would sell that ideology. And there was an evidence of an effort to change things that had gone bad. But in our first year after governance with the APC, we realized that it was a total mistake. And everybody who has been in the APC with hopes... Was it really a mistake? It was a mistake.
You were not carried along?
No. It was a mistake, because if you are carried along, it means your ideology will be carried along. Now tell me what the APC has done about education, which is the grand master of our beliefs in our ideology? Zero, nothing. Have they sponsored anybody for anything specific like we did, like we believe it should be? Have they taken care of universities? Have they taken care of students? Have they taken care of the poor? Our ideology is clear, simple, clear. We start from the weakest members of society until we come to the fortunate members of society.
It's a bottom-top approach.
Yes, and that is what we learned from Aminu Kano. And that's why we start from children, then women, then weak people. So from children, we provide from birth to education. For women, we provide sojourn from poverty, we provide empowerment and so on. And for the men, we provide opportunities and education and advancement and so on. We didn't see it in the APC. When it was formed, we just realized that it's just a group of frustrated people that have been trying to get power because they want to show PDP that they can take power away from them. The Buhari organization, in fact, was formed to fight PDP, fight Obasanjo. That is what, if you ask Buba Galadima, those who created the Buhari organization, the whole idea at that time was, look, Obasanjo was coming after Northerners, after people that were not with him, and so we need to have a grand group that can be able to protect us and present a reaction to that. That metamorphosed into a political ambition that Buhari has always had, and when they got into power, their motive was just to get PDP out, and then they found themselves nowhere.
Are you saying
no direction.
Including President Muhammadu Buhari himself?
What is the direction?
Are you saying he has changed in terms of his principles? And
There were principles sold, but could not be implemented. The three key principles that he came into, he's even sometimes denying them. They will tell you that it is somebody else that promised. It wasn't the president that promised refineries will be repaired in 6 months. They will tell you. But we all thought that he had the opportunity and abilities, and the time was ripe for us to have a strong man that would take care of security, take care of education in particular, and the economy. None of them. I bought bread 150 naira before Buhari was sworn in. I'm buying it 850 naira today. That is basic thing on everybody's table. Tomatoes is the same thing. A piece of tomato now is 100 naira. You used to get almost a bowl at 100 naira. So the economy, as far as, policies have been implemented that are just anti-people. And that is not what we expected.
But they would tell you that Nigeria is not living in isolation. Some of these challenges are global.
Oh, those are very good excuses. I heard your first point where Lai Mohammed is saying that they have done everything. Yes, we have listened. We watched Hitler. We read Hitler. We know what propaganda can do. How could you stare at people's faces?
Are you calling the likes of the Niger Bridge, the transformation in the rail sector, the road networks as policies?
Now, road networks, I can't see them. I have seen 3 or 4. How many other? The only thing they will tell you is
rice pyramids. I say
there were no rice pyramids. There were no rice pyramids. Rice cannot be selling at 40,000 if there were pyramids. So you know there were no rice pyramids. And the first law of the economy is higher supply leads to lower prices. How could you be telling me you have increased supply and the price have gone from 7,500 to 40,000? I mean, it's insane to but there's this.
But I see it as a positive result. Perhaps it encouraged people to go take on farming activities to join the agricultural
money has been spent on farming. Results of farming are not there. Yes, on paper, there is a lot of farming done in central bank. That's where the farming happened, but I've not seen it when I went to the market. So we should tell ourselves the truth.
Okay, let's come back to the PCC, the Presidential Campaign Council. 1,053 member council. Yeah. Prominent, should I say prominent? Because looking at the faces of the people, you hardly find, those who are seen as the movers and shakers in our polity or in our economy, more like grassroots politicians.
We're grassroots.
Okay, so how do you think this people can drive such a process?
See, politics is about numbers. In Nigeria, only 1% of Nigerians, not more than 2%, have 500,000 naira in their accounts. That 1% is not our concern. If you pick them and put them in slots and think that they can influence everything, it's not true. We have had elections in Nigeria. None of our elections had more than 30% turnout. We have been deciding presidents with 11 million, 15 million votes out of a population, of voting population that now is 90 million.
Almost 100 million.
And registration, it's up to nearly 100 million. So you can see that when voting comes, the frustrated people, the people dejected, the people who don't have faith in what is going to happen, don't really vote. You see, we tend to look at politics from a point of entertainment. That's the problem with Nigeria. We just think that the best entertainers in a place, because we do not believe or we do not know that at the end of the day, the results of that fight between the parties continue to determine our lives until another election. We just think that we can clap, say that somebody had an uppercut, somebody went below the belt, and we laugh about it as we like laughing about jokes in Nigeria. We joke about everything. And we do not take sufficient interest to know that it's serious, it's going to continue to affect us for 4 years, for 8 years. These things are changing, reality is coming in. We are realizing that if we say, okay, registered corporate people, I mean, I always try to give this example between corporate organizations and the other people in the market. Can you compare those registered corporate people, corporate affairs commission, are business people, but the person selling tomato is also a business person. Why is the mass? The mass is here. Those who register corporate are 1%.
Captured, you know.
They're not. So we are not looking at these registered corporate capacities that you think in politically. We are looking at the mass. And as long as we continue to look at the mass, let's see the results. We'll begin to shock and surprise the moment the results come in.
Shocking Nigerians. Nigerians are actually very, very much anxious to see what will actually transpire. But then, before we get to February 25, you know, Nigerians are also looking at, not necessarily Nigerians, even politicians. Your party is also looking at that direction. The issue of funding. You know, incidentally, at today's event, you also launched a portal, you know, a donation portal, you know, expecting Nigerians to donate certain amount of money. Lead us into this. Why do you think we also have to go public like others?
We're the only party that is not run by, what do you call them, big shots, money bags. Our ideology has always been an ideology of contribution, right from the days of Aminu Kano. You know, if we have a rally, go and check. You will not get 3 people that were brought into that rally because there was going to be something paid to them. You will not get 3 people. But if you go to other rallies, you find out that you won't get 3 people that go there that know they are not going to be paid monies for that. We contribute money. This is the culture of Aminu Kano from day one. After market days on Fridays, people get together in Nepu and contributed monies to attend rallies. And when you attend rallies, you are given lectures. This is what we try to do. So you come back more enlightened than you left. So people got every week, even if there was no rally to go to, they will get together and contribute monies. We're a party of the masses contributing resources. So don't be surprised that today we have launched a portal for contributions. Others have too much money. They don't know what to do with it. The only thing they believe their money can do for them is their turn. Both the 2 parties that you think that are strong, all the 3 of them are all heavy money bags with too much money to spend. And so they went into politics as a way of spending their money and enjoying their lives and becoming popular along the line. That's what they are all doing. But we are in politics not because we
governance or
to get popular in governance. You know, a lot of people believe when you have gotten money, then the next thing to ask God is power. And that is what we are seeing. Power for what? For what purposes? Mainly power to become famous, popular, and leave your name in history. That's it. Well, we are committed to changing things, to a new Nigeria based on what people are onto. We're not committed to making money.
But looking at the situations, you know, you're talking about, you know, the followership, like the ones we had during the Aminu Kanos and the rest of it. And there is a significant shift and transformation, you know, over the years, even among the followership. Nigerians have had history. I mean, have had, very negative perception around contributing money. They've done that before to certain presidential candidates, and perhaps they may not see the result. But now you're asking Nigerians to also donate, and own the project as it is. What confidence do you have? How do you think Nigerians who, many, just like you've said, have been pauperized, would be able to contribute towards this cause? Over 133 million Nigerians classified as multidimensionally poor. How do you intend to get this money? How do you realize this
position was precisely presented today by Senator Rabiu Kwankwaso. The appreciation level now is going to be much higher because there is absolute poverty. Impoverization has happened mainly in these last 7 years, like almost deliberate. Like there is anti-people, like I say, disdain for prosperity. So therefore, create a system where everybody gets dejected. Even the people around you that are stealing billions will not show you that they have a nice wristwatch, or, that is the attitude. That is what brought us into this. So anybody that can that can donate 10 naira today, 5 naira, the appreciation level is higher than when they were donating under PDP. I'm telling you, because the dimension of poverty now is much higher, the misery is higher, the impoverishment is higher. APC. And under APC. So, and APC is not asking people to donate anymore because they have built their money bags.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah. Okay. Have you seen APC behaving like when it was in 2015? When it was asking for donations? It is not. And any true political party, no matter whether it's in power or not, if it is in power and doing the right things, not stealing money, it will still be in need of resources from the people it is working with. When you say a political party refused to ask for money anymore, then be scared that so much money has gone into private hands.
The party and its membership, or those within the party, are richer than they were in 2015. Is that what you're saying? Because we had them talking about
do you have a party
going to live, a presidency, or going to leave their positions poorer than they were.
Like I told you, all this propaganda, all these things, they can look into people's eyes and say so. But the reality of the matter is, are they looking for monies now, or are they giving out monies? We saw their primaries. We know the dollars that went into those primaries. We saw it. And if you trace all these things, they are directly from public funds. We know. We've seen people who are giving back 30 billion naira. And that is just a fraction of what they are.
Giving back to who now?
Giving back to government. People who came in that may not have had 300,000 naira in their accounts are now giving back 30 billion. And you can imagine, and it's just one among
those. A form of
EFCC taking it back because they have been caught red-handed.
Okay, in terms of recoveries.
Recoveries. We are seeing that. We are seeing things that we have never imagined. But the reality of it is, what they will not be able, the trick will not go to a level where they can come and tell us they are so poor, please help us, because they have made us so poor, and they are the ones helping themselves, and everybody sees it. So now that they have interest, there was a minister who in Hausa was telling the world that if it is money, there is money. There is now money. So those who are contested against
perhaps from his salary, as a minister, he's been paid salary, and perhaps his businesses. So
ministers with businesses, we see them in this place, in this system. Ministers with businesses.
Well, let's come back to NNPP and perhaps what it intends to do. Looking at the fact that you have to go public to source for funds, you call it for logistics. It also means that there must be some level of involvement of money in the whole process.
There must be money in politics.
Right. Okay, so what are you targeting, for instance, in terms of the peak? What do you expect to get?
In amounts?
Yes.
We don't expect it's not a competition. We're not putting a peg on it. No, it's what we're able to do. Some might not be able to give money where they put efforts. Some might donate vehicles, some might donate for weeks, for months. The entire structure is a volunteer structure. So some might donate other things. Some might buy food during elections. Some might cook food during elections. Every poster you see with NNPP is a donation. There is no government money in it. There is no central money coming from anybody. You go and sit down with Senator Konko, so you see people from the grassroots coming with 200 posters, 500 posters, 3 stickers, banners, and so on. That is what keeps the party going. That is what has kept Konkosia going. And that we didn't fail and we are getting bigger since that time means that sooner or later, everybody will realize that is the way to go.
Okay, looking at way to go, and perhaps some would say it's going to be a very strict competition now, and even the opinion polls are not favoring your party. I've had Buba Galadima today talking about rubbishing those opinion polls. He said they are being bought and what have you, but they place your candidate, in a very distant position.
Yeah.
Even the LP is even coming more stronger.
Yeah.
So how do you think you can change this trajectory?
Now let's start from what opinion polls are actually. Are they really scientific? Have we depended on opinion polls in our Nigerian political history? The normal nature of a Nigerian is if you ask him who is going to vote for, it's like you're asking a state secret from him. So I do not, and they have not, we are not like Europeans where you have a position and you continue, because this 1% are sometimes dangerous. A driver driving a billionaire will never tell you that he's going to vote for a party that a billionaire is not.
But there are parameters. Some would say even visibility and appearance and acceptance, and perhaps,
so if you are, you see, that's what I see as entertainment version of politics that people follow. You want to be entertained. And when you are following politics as an entertainment, you're only waiting for the big shots to get into the ring and hit themselves blue, black, and go out, and you think nothing happens. But you don't even see what the other competitors see. If there are 18 competitors and they're in the field, they're not looking at the field like you are as a person waiting to be entertained, looking for the 2 big names who have made names through socialization, through PR, public relations, through spending, through whatever. You are looking at the abilities of each and every one in the field. So we don't see it that way as politicians who are in the field, and it is not the reality. There are methods, there are ways of getting to win elections away from having a public PR this thing and dancing steps that we see from El-Rufai to what
isn't dancing part of the campaign?
Dancing is part of Nigerian campaigning.
Even
it has been.
Your event today, there were a
won
lot of
election
music
because
and people were dancing and all of that.
and Oshomole were competing on how to dance on stages. When they came to Kano, we saw it.
But isn't that also, identify with the people?
There's no identifying with the people. It's not identifying with the people. It's
showing some dance step, understanding.
The people are not dancing in the market. The people are not dancing.
In tune with the realities
no,
in the
if you want to identify with the people, go to their dining tables and make it better. If somebody wakes up in the morning and he has enough food, you have identified with him. You don't keep somebody hungry and say, just because I have danced, I have paid off. You're not,
so
not paying them to
in
dance
essence
for us.
that such crowds we are seeing, and of course the popularity the candidates are getting is not.
It's myth.
It's not realistic.
It's not realistic because those will not create votes. They have not really created votes. What has been happening is alternatives were not available. Sufficient alternatives were not available.
I say that the people there are mainly driven, if you like, by the infrastructure. Stomach infrastructure necessity.
Well, stomach infrastructure has made a lot of impact, but it is not only stomach infrastructure. We have this feeling of want to have a sense of belonging to what governance is, to what power people are, to what rich people are. Today, if you go and check the campaigns that are happening, the power people, you do not see senators who are closer to the people than presidential candidates. You do not see House of Reps members who are closer to the Senate, to the people than even the senators. You do not see local government chairmen, because the new reality is they are running away from the situation they have put Nigerians into. So they are keeping a distance, flying on jets and dropping on platforms and having a dance step competition and running away with sweet talks or insults. Even the insults are programmed to entertain you. They bought the biggest political entertainers of insult. Everyone grabbed his own, paid as much as he can, and they want you to be
But are you also insulated? Even your
who is insulting anybody in our party?
Point was also said to have joined in.
We just tell the truth. No, we don't join that insult.
Okay, in case you're just joining us, the program is Daily Politics, and today we're looking at the inauguration of the NNPP Presidential Campaign Council and other matters arising from the political trajectory, if you like, of the party as one of the alternative political parties in Nigeria. And we have in the studio Dr. Farouk Bibi Farouk. He's a Director of Planning, Research and Strategy of the NNPP Presidential Campaign Council. Together we'll be looking at the issues very closely. We'll take a break. When we return, we'll continue with the conversation. Stay with us.
Now, as part of efforts to support Africa's goal of strengthening...
Now, looking at the activity chart, as you can see right here, a total volume of 130...
Created a Boko Haram crisis that at that time was restricted to Yobe.
How secured are they? You can see security men with blood.
This is the road leading up to the...
Already, if you look at English squad, you are looking at EPL, you are looking at their names. You are not looking at...
Thank you very much for staying with us on Daily Politics, reaching you live from Trust Television here in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. And today we're looking at the inauguration of the Presidential Campaign Council of the New Nigeria People's Party, the NNPP, and matters arising. And we have in the studio Dr. Farouk Bibi Farouk, Director, Planning, Research and Strategy. Just before the break, we're looking at the atmospherics, you know, the electoral processes leading to campaigns and so on, and issues arising. You know, looking at the composition of this Presidential Campaign Council, it somehow differs from what we used to see in other political parties, you know, in terms of departments, you know, and so on and so forth. Here we have, I think, about 4 or 5 components, the management, you know, the PCC itself, you know, the advisory
council
and so on and so forth. Yes. So is it because of the limited number of the people, or why do you choose to come up with such a strategy?
No, it's a different approach to the campaigning process. Like I told you, we also do have a lot of grassroots activity. Many of these people, about 90% of them, have direct links to the local ward community orientation agents, committees.
Yeah.
So many of them have rules that go right down to that grassroots level. So the structure is made in a manner that you can make it amorphous, if you like, and you can make it strategic and focus. You can focus the entire campaign on a particular issues. So every member of that campaign is as well as a strategist, is also involved with finance because he gets you donations. He's also involved with contact and mobilization. He's also involved with the clergy issues. We have units that deal with clergy activities. He's involved with youth because the philosophy of the party starts with helping the weakest, who are the youth. So
there are no limitations as to what you know, each member of the Presidential Council can do.
No. We are all working, and we're all working together. So people would not feel isolated. Those in the security committee can find themselves in the strategy committee having roles to play, performing functions. So because why it is like this is because 100% of us are volunteers. So nobody is lobbying for an office to be a big man and have, you know, and what the political parties
choice committee also.
Choice committees, and I have been in campaign committees before. I was in the IBB committee. I was director of youth. I was in no, I was director of operations in Atiku committee. I was a one-time director of youth. So I know that.
You're also part of those political, gymnastics. I mean,
from 1999,
yeah,
from 1999 to date, it has taken us a very difficult, long journey because of military integram to be able to find ideology, and that is what we are doing, to be able to establish ideology. So of course we have been around because we have to be with those who are deciding. PDP was formed with us. I started with Rimi, late Rimi, may Allah bless his soul, and we started PDP, but everything about ideology and progressivism that was there was put on the back for military to go. That's why you could see Rimi sitting with Adamuchi Roma, sitting with every other person in the same party and working together, because the idea was that time suspend the stiff ideology you have. So this movement, this NNPP, the campaign council that we have now is at one unit it can give the same blow and it can diverse into other areas and perform.
Yeah. So something new again, unlike other political parties that had director generals for the campaign, I think virtually all of them have campaign director generals, DGs. But in your own case, I understand the presidential candidate also doubles as the chairman of the PCC.
Yes, his vice is the deputy as the vice chairman.
So you don't have a director general.
You see, it's not about creating offices and portfolios and giving jibs and probably hotel because you don't give housing. I've collected all of that, to be honest with you. So I know what people are aspiring to go into those offices to. But at the end of the day, it's all about the candidates. So you cannot operate outside the ideas of the candidate. If you do so, you are lying. You are lying to the people. My ideas, I engage them with my principal, the presidential candidate, and if it is good to go, they go. If they're not good to go, I keep them as my ideas. So I'm not a special campaign DG that can be able to have an a bureaucracy that can be able to move things. Those things happen, but I think people like you in the press, other people are the ones who like that because there is a press unit and there is vote for that, there is this thing for this. That's what has been happening. I'm part of it. Everyone comes to where it, all youth.
The media only works with whatever composition.
Yeah, but the politics, the manner of the politics, the way they have done it from PDP that I have been very active into, is to break into pieces all interest and bring enough resources to service those interests to promote you. Including security influences, including... I've seen so much, actually, to be honest. Jets will be flying to traditional places to sort out traditional things. Those are what they think is campaign. Now the realization of Nigerians is coming up. They now know that they should determine their destiny. What we are talking about is for a new Nigeria. The party is New Nigeria People's Party. So we know those things, but we say it is new Nigeria we're working for. And the entire campaign, PCC is working and hoping for a new Nigeria.
Towards a new Nigeria.
Yes.
Okay, a new Nigeria, and you said it's possible. So with all the challenges...
That's it.
That also means you are confident in the electoral processes, perhaps, and you also have the belief that there are changes in the electoral processes that might, drive this, give Nigerians what they desire in terms of leadership.
We know sufficiently that once you have the mass followership of the people, the electoral process cannot stop you. That we are very clear about.
So you are not being gingered by the transformation in the electoral system.
We are more interested in becoming the most popular party. Once you are the most popular, forget every other process. You must get your mandate. Because no matter how hard they try, we have seen them rig. We know how they rig.
And how do you get popular,
You engage the grassroots.
Looking at parties that have been existing for 20 years, and the likes. And you want to be popular?
They are very young parties in political history. We do not see them as grandparents' party. Who are the ones who started them? As old as I am, I mean, I was there when PDP, at least the first 3 meetings that started PDP.
The G5,
I went to
Kaduna. The G15,
yes,
13,
yes. Even if at that time we only been told, go and do this, go and do that, but we knew what was happening. We went there because of what was happening. These are not parties that you start looking for a history of. That no, we saw these things, and our visions had always been different from what was pursued, right from day one, like I told you. So if we have this opportunity now to pursue our own vision, put an ideology behind it, then we won't lose that opportunity. Nigerians might think that APC, when was it formed? 2015. Why are you calling it a strong party? Because it only has government. You know?
Well, having government also matters in politics. When you don't have structures, just like you're coming, I mean, your principal, if you like, your presidential candidate is for the first time having his name on the ballot. So this is, I mean, is his first, trial, so to speak. And then the political party itself is a political party that is relatively unknown. And so you have 2 key challenges to contend with. And then you think within this 1 year you become popular. And
from March last year, we didn't have anybody, not one person. But we conducted all our ward elections and created people there. All our local government elections, all our state ESCOs, all our national ESCOs, a national convention. And we still went back and created candidates in almost all the slots that are available. 1 year. You see, we seem to think it's a very big, gigantic process, like building second Niger Bridge or the Kaduna Road. Building political parties is not that difficult. If you go to Israel, for example, the party that just left, Blue and White Party, was built in 6 months. If you go to Italy today, the party in power is not up to 3-5 years old.
But you know what it takes, for the progressives
just
to take
have
over
the
power.
Ideology.
If we're talking about 5 political parties coming together, and we're seeing the strong, party, I mean, political juggernauts across, party line, across regional divides coming together. And here you are with a presidential candidate who is largely, popular in the north, so to speak, with relatively support from other regions, and not even prominent faces. And yet, how do you want to?
You see, popularity is good in politics. Support is good in politics, but trust is the most important thing in politics. Many people are popular, they are on the platforms, they are campaigning, but when you look at them, you just see your monies being stolen. So you don't have to go with those people if they cannot bring trust of the people. Once people learn, and trust is a very expensive thing, very, very, very expensive in Nigeria. Even at our commercial activities, it's having trust deficiencies, not to talk of. So we're building on the trust of the people. Once we have the trust, and the trust of the people is built on an ideology that has delivered. We have an ideology that at least shown in Kano it can deliver, and people can see physically it has delivered, and we're pushing for it to be able to deliver in all over the country. And once people trust that we can deliver, forget about any juggernaut.
Right. Okay, you are about to commence the zonal rallies,
yes.
Starting perhaps from Bauchi or so?
Yes, the Northeast zonal.
So you intend to traverse, I mean, how many states now? And the likely states you intend to
The
visit?
6 states of the Northeast would have a general combination of everybody at Bauchi. Like I told you, we have been going to the local government areas. I think there is no party has traversed the Northeast like we have. We have been to places where they have told us that they have never seen a gubernatorial candidate.
Not to talk of
presidential candidate. Many of those places. So we're very comfortable with Northeast. And we'll have a grand zonal rally there. Then we'll move to Northwest, Kaduna. We'll have a grand zonal rally there. Then we'll move to North Central, and we'll have a grand zonal rally there. Then our candidate has been invited to Chatham House.
Yeah, I heard him talk about the Chatham House engagement.
So after that, we'll come back and go down south, and you will be surprised.
Okay, wish you all the best and all of this engagements. Thank you very much, Dr. Bibi Farouk, for talking to us on Daily Politics.
You're welcome.
Okay, this is about the size of the conversation with Dr. Farouk Bibi Farouk, Director, Planning, Research and Strategy of the NNPP, that is the New Nigeria People's Party Presidential Campaign Council, which was just inaugurated by the presidential candidate, Dr. Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso. On behalf of the technical crew, this is where we come to the end of this conversation. My name is Shafiu Suleiman. Have yourself a wonderful time ahead.